Right now we're sitting in front of the Munchinger King, also known as the MK. It was a hotel in Newport, one of the first hotels we saw right after the Civil War. This is before the time period of these large houses and these mansions that you see and that you live in at Salve's campus. People stayed in hotels when they came up, and these hotels were very large. This was one of the first ones. It eventually turned into a restaurant, a meeting spot, and it was famous in Newport all the way up through the 1950s. It's on the corner of Bellevue Avenue and Church, the top of Church Street. Catherine, please come by and see it.
So we're looking across the street from the hotel that Dan just mentioned, and the building that you're looking at now is called the Newport Reading Room. It's a very beautiful building on the outside. I've been told it's beautiful inside, but I've never been in there. It's very, very difficult to get in. Back in the late 1800s, it was a gentleman's club. So the wealthy who lived in the mansions had this, the men had this as a place to gather. The interesting story, and I think it is interesting about it, is there was a man named George Gordon Bennett, who was a newspaper publisher in New York, and he played polo, and he had a British friend, a Major John Candy, visit him, and they both wanted to get Candy admitted as a member. So on a dare, Bennett said, "I'll recommend you for membership if you ride your polo pony up the front steps of the porch and through the lobby and out into the back." So Candy took him up on the dare. He did that. Unfortunately, Candy didn't get his membership, and they threw Bennett out as a member. Okay, they didn't think it was that funny. So Bennett, who had tons of money, lived up the street, and as an act of spite or retribution, or I'll show you, he built the casino, which is now the home to the Newport International Tennis Hall of Fame. And you will have an opportunity probably not to get in there unless you're B&E, and we don't want that. But if you want to go visit the International Tennis Hall of Fame, it's in the casino building. So Bennett got thrown out of here, went down and built one of the most historic structures in Newport. And that became the highlight or the location of a lot of social life, both for women and for men. So I guess in the end, he had the last word.
We just moved down the street on Bellevue, about a block from the MK Hotel that Dan was just talking about. And Dan mentioned that the hotels got replaced by big mansions in the late 19th century in the Gilded Age period. Well, by the 1920s, that phase in Newport's history had come to an end. People weren't coming to their summer cottages anymore. They were too costly to maintain, too costly to heat. And so the city of Newport decided they needed to get the hotel era going again to promote tourism. So the Chamber of Commerce and other interested parties came together in the 1920s in this joint effort, and they create the Hotel Viking, this grand brick building behind us. And of course, it's going to be named the Viking because of all the Viking connections we talked about in that tour of park.
Well, I'm going to just throw a Viking Hotel Salve connection in quickly. Many years ago, I was working as dean of students at Salve, and we had a fire in one of the residence halls. No one was seriously injured. No one was injured, really, but a lot of smoke and water damage. So we evacuated about 70 freshman women who lived here at the Hotel Viking for about 6 weeks while all the repairs took place. And they weren't really happy campers at the beginning because there was a little bit of shock, a little bit of unrest. Think about what we're all going through right now. And about a week after they moved in, the Hollywood film crew that was doing the movie Amistad, which is quite old now, but some of you may have seen that, they also moved into the Viking. So they went from being down here in February kind of on their own to having breakfast and dinner with Matthew McConaughey and a lot of the actors and the film crew from Amistad. So it worked out, and 6 weeks later when it was time to relocate, most of them didn't want to leave, but eventually they did.
As Dr. Quinn was saying, the 1920s was definitely an interesting time in Newport history. The 1740s, like we talked about for Redwood Library, was very interesting. A lot of building, a lot of new ideas floating around. The 1920s was somewhat similar. We saw a building boom, especially with brick. So here we have the Viking Hotel, 1926-27. If you walk right down, you have the Oddfellows Hall and the bank right next to it on Washington Square. That was the same time frame. So we see a lot of large buildings being built in Newport at the time. And this is only about a mile from the campus. So it's not that long of a walk or a shuttle ride when you're able to go out and explore.